Cancer. Before we even step into your next 72 hours, Spirit is showing me that you're standing at a moment where your emotions feel heavier than your responsibilities. You're trying to be strong for everyone, even when no one is asking. You're carrying the energy of someone who hasn't had a break mentally, emotionally, or spiritually for a while, but you keep saying you're fine because you don't want people to worry. But the shift coming in the next 72 hours is not about more effort, more fixing, or more giving. It's about a quiet internal realignment where something clicks inside you. Not a dramatic event, not chaos, not upheaval, just a realization that changes the way you respond, the way you choose, and the way you protect your own energy. And that's what begins everything. This is Ira, and before we begin, remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you feel called. And if you want your personal 2026 forecast, it's available for $155. Now let's begin your message. The first energy coming through is the Knight of Cups. And this energy shows that in the next 72 hours, your emotional sensitivity heightens, but not in the way that overwhelms you. More like your intuition gaining sharper clarity about the people around you. You may start noticing who drains your energy without giving anything back, who genuinely shows up, and who keeps you lingering in emotional confusion. This card shows you beginning to listen to what your emotions actually try to tell you rather than what you force yourself to believe. You stop explaining away behavior that hurts you. You stop giving benefit of the doubt to people who repeatedly show you exactly who they are. The second layer of this card shows a shift in how you approach conversations. You may find yourself responding slower, observing instead of reacting, or choosing silence instead of confrontation because your inner voice becomes louder than your emotional impulses. The next 72 hours bring situations that test your boundaries. But instead of being triggered, you surprise yourself with calm clarity. You begin understanding what you want to express, what you want to protect, and what no longer needs your emotional investment. Your words become intentional, and your reactions become grounded. The third aspect of this card points to an invitation or emotional offer, but it doesn't feel romantic. It feels like someone approaching you with a need, a request, or an emotional expectation. You'll see this situation differently than before. Instead of feeling obligated, you evaluate whether it aligns with your energy. And that's the shift. You stop feeling responsible for other people's emotional states. You begin understanding that care does not mean self-sacrifice, and support does not mean self-neglect. The final message from this card is that you rediscover a softer emotional confidence. Instead of guarding yourself with defensiveness, you start protecting yourself with clarity. You begin trusting your intuitive nudges more deeply because you finally accept that your emotions are signals, not weaknesses. The Knight of Cups says this 72-hour window initiates the version of you that honors your emotional capacity without guilt. Your next energy is the King of Pentacles, showing a strong shift in your stability mindset. In the next 72 hours, you begin prioritizing long-term security over temporary comfort. You may feel a sudden urge to organize money, rethink spending, or make clearer financial decisions. This isn't panic-based, it's strategic. You're stepping into a grounded, responsible version of yourself that doesn't want to rely on hope, only structure. Something inside you clicks, saying it's time to build, time to secure, time to create foundations that last. The second paragraph of this energy shows your self-worth becoming more rooted. You may find yourself refusing something you would normally settle for, whether it's behavior, a job expectation, or emotional crumbs. The King of Pentacles strengthens your internal standards, making you unwilling to compromise your stability. In the next 72 hours, you'll see yourself acting like someone who knows exactly what they deserve, and that becomes the beginning of a new cycle where your choices finally match your value. The third layer reveals a mentor-like presence in your energy. This could be an older figure, a grounded friend, or even a guide nudging you toward practical decisions. You may receive advice that initially sounds simple, but hits deeply because it validates what you already knew. The next 72 hours bring a moment where guidance aligns with intuition, making your direction clearer than it has been in months. You no longer feel as lost about what to do next. And finally, this card shows an increase in confidence regarding your abilities. You begin seeing yourself as someone capable, reliable, and resourceful. The King of Pentacles symbolizes the shift from "I hope I can manage" to "I know I can handle this." This creates a stabilizing energy that stays with you beyond the 72 hours, grounding you in a mindset that strengthens your future decisions. The next card is the Five of Swords reversed, and this is where the emotional relief begins. In the next 72 hours, a conflict, internal or external, loosens its grip on you. Something you've been replaying in your mind begins losing its emotional charge. You may wake up and suddenly feel less affected by someone's behavior, less guilty about stepping back, or less attached to proving a point. This is the moment your nervous system begins to settle. The second layer of this energy reveals that someone who caused tension or confusion may try to revisit the situation, but your reaction is different now. You don't feel the same pressure to fix or explain. You don't feel afraid of disappointing them. Your clarity makes it easy to see their patterns. And this realization becomes another major shift. They can't pull you into the same cycle anymore. The third aspect shows you cutting off a draining habit, not a person this time, but a subconscious pattern. Maybe you stop apologizing for things that aren't your fault. Maybe you stop checking your phone waiting for someone's message. Maybe you stop overthinking someone's silence. This release feels incredibly freeing because it returns your mental space to you. You feel lighter, not from someone giving you peace, but from you deciding to stop carrying unnecessary weight. And the final message here is that the next 72 hours bring a calm detachment that protects you from manipulation, guilt, and emotional loops. You start responding from awareness instead of fear. You stop internalizing what is not yours. And that shift changes your entire emotional field. Your fourth card is the High Priestess, bringing a deep intuitive awakening. In the next 72 hours, your intuition becomes louder than your doubts. You may have sudden realizations, vivid dreams, or moments of clarity that feel like they come from nowhere. But these insights aren't random. They are your higher self directing you toward your next step. You begin seeing through illusions, noticing subtle energy shifts, and recognizing truths you've been avoiding. The second layer shows a private understanding forming inside you. You begin noticing where you've been giving too much information, opening up too quickly, or trusting too easily. The High Priestess helps you pull back your energy and observe without exposing your vulnerabilities. This is where you begin valuing privacy, not as a shield, but as a strength. Something inside you whispers that it's time to protect your inner world. The third aspect of this card brings an intuitive nudge about a person around you. You may finally understand their intentions, emotional limits, or behavior patterns. Instead of feeling confused by them, you begin understanding them with detached awareness. You see why they act the way they do. But more importantly, you see why you no longer need to tolerate it. You start acting from intuition instead of attachment. And finally, this card marks a spiritual shift, a moment where your inner knowing becomes your primary guide. In the next 72 hours, you begin trusting your instincts more than external opinions. You stop seeking validation. You stop doubting signs. The High Priestess marks the return of your spiritual clarity, making you sensitive to guidance and protected from energetic interference. Your next card is the Eight of Wands, signaling swift movement, quick decisions, and fast communication. In the next 72 hours, something that has been delayed or stagnant suddenly picks up speed. You may receive a message, a call, or an opportunity you've been waiting for. You may feel an internal push to take action on something you've been avoiding. This is a burst of forward momentum that clears stuck energy. The second paragraph shows you feeling more motivated than you have in weeks. You may suddenly find energy to complete tasks, organize your life, or start something you've been planning for a long time. This card accelerates your plans, helping you break through procrastination. It's not chaos, it's clarity pushing you forward. You stop waiting for perfect timing and move with intention. The third layer reveals multiple shifts happening at once. You may notice changes in your schedule, emotions, or conversations. This energy feels fast but manageable. It helps you get out of emotional stagnation and reconnect with your goals. The next 72 hours bring opportunities that remind you of what you're capable of when you stop holding back. And finally, this card shows momentum building around something long-term. This could be work-related progress, future planning, or a personal project suddenly aligning. The Eight of Wands shows the universe clearing obstacles so you can move. You begin feeling momentum returning to your life, and that shift continues beyond these 3 days. Your sixth card is the Ten of Wands reversed, showing a major release. In the next 72 hours, you put down a burden you've been carrying emotionally or mentally for too long. Something you've been managing by yourself begins feeling lighter, not because someone fixes it for you, but because you stop forcing yourself to handle everything alone. You begin admitting what has been too much, and you finally release something you should have let go of earlier. The second paragraph shows you gaining clearer boundaries. You may say no to something that drains you, or delegate something you've been taking full responsibility for. You begin recognizing that burnout is not strength, and exhaustion is not evidence of loyalty. This shift helps you reclaim your energy in a grounded, practical way. The third layer reveals a pattern breaking. You stop repeating the same emotional cycle, whether that's trying to please someone, over-explaining, overworking, or absorbing others' stress. In the next 72 hours, you become aware of a pattern you no longer wish to maintain. This is a powerful moment because awareness alone creates change. And the final message here is relief. You begin breathing easier, sleeping deeper, thinking clearer. The weight you release is not physical, it's emotional responsibility. And once that lifts, your energy field begins resetting in a way that makes you feel alive again. Your seventh card is the Ace of Swords, showing a breakthrough moment. In the next 72 hours, you receive clarity that cuts through confusion. This could be a realization, a conversation, or a decision that finally brings relief. The fog lifts. The uncertainty dissolves. You see the truth of a situation without distortion. This clarity empowers you to move forward. The second paragraph shows you communicating more directly. You speak with honesty, not emotion. You say what you mean without fear of how it will be received. This shift helps you confront something you've avoided, but with maturity rather than conflict. You begin recognizing the power of clarity in relationships, responsibilities, and decisions. The third layer shows you gaining intellectual strength. You may research something, plan something, or understand something differently than before. The Ace of Swords activates your mental sharpness, helping you analyze situations without emotional overwhelm. You begin choosing logic where previously you chose emotional instinct. And finally, this card shows a new path opening. The clarity you receive becomes the foundation for your next step. This next 72 hours marks the beginning of a new mental cycle, one where you operate from understanding rather than confusion. This clarity becomes one of the most empowering shifts of your year. Your final card is the Star, showing renewal, healing, and restored hope. In the next 72 hours, you reconnect with something that feels like genuine peace. You may feel emotionally lighter, spiritually guided, or mentally restored. This card shows that the heaviness you've been carrying begins dissolving, and you finally understand why things had to happen the way they did. The second paragraph shows you feeling inspired again. You may get an idea, a desire, or a vision for your future that reminds you of your potential. You begin feeling hopeful about something you once doubted. This isn't unrealistic optimism, it's restored faith grounded in clarity. The third layer shows emotional healing quietly happening in the background. You may not even realize how much your heart has been longing for this softness, this peace, this reconnection. The next 72 hours bring emotional clarity that allows you to forgive, release, or simply stop hurting. You feel yourself becoming lighter. And finally, the star marks the beginning of a spiritual reconnection. You start feeling protected, aligned, and guided again. The universe begins placing you back on track. And this shift continues long after these 3 days, becoming the beginning of a new emotional chapter. Your affirmation: I am stepping into clarity, strength, and alignment. My energy is protected, my path is opening, and the next 72 hours bring the shifts I am ready for.